Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horseshit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 you heffalump bunch of yo-yos. We are back again on the Carolina Underground, coming to you live from the replica Batcave with my partner in high crimes and misdemeanors from the deep, dark, jungly depths of Sparkleberry.
And your reference to one of my favorite, songs from my childhood. Oh, heffalumps and woozles are very confusal. The heffalump and woozle very sly, 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 sly. They comes in ones and twosles, and if you so choosels, they will gobble up the thing you prize. Sorry.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have just gone a direction that I didn't think that we were going to go.
Well, and absolutely, and happy episode 42.
Episode 42 of season 2.
Season 2, episode 42. So
Yep.
I guess that's, a nod to Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because this is the answer to the universe episode.
That's exactly right. I mean, because we're always correct. Why wouldn't we be the answer? Well, there's a lot taking place since we chatted last.
Yep. And well, go ahead, sir. Please don't let me steal your thunder.
Oh, you're not stealing mine. We had what many have touted as the greatest comeback in political history.
I would agree.
Donald J. Trump becomes the 47th president of the United States, or president-elect, I should say. Not only did he win electorally with 312, he currently sits at still holding the popular vote at roughly about 75 million.
Right.
I find it this has really put things into stark perspective, because as you know, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican. I just prefer somebody with common sense. And you and I have talked about this race probably more than any political race that we have talked about since we've been doing this podcast.
Absolutely.
And I really found it amazing that, especially after the demographics were broken down, that the seismic shift in the vast coalition of diversity of people that voted for Trump versus the people that stuck with the Democrat Party. And it is truly almost as the Democrat Party is no longer, and we've been saying this before, it's no longer the party of the working class, but it's the party of the people that are on the
mental
government
illness.
tit.
Yeah, and mental illness.
The government tit, and the ones that are the ultra wealthy. Because they want to have control and control everybody.
Now, and again, here's the thing. All right, so we've got 4 years for the Republicans to prove that they are not the uniparty, okay? Because what I would say is that if you have half a brain and you're not a millionaire, you are neither a Democrat nor a Republican. Okay, the Republicans and the Democrats are made up of the wealthy elite aristocrats that we've allowed to develop in the United States. in my rarely humble opinion. And the thing that's interesting is we had record voter turnout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you look at the totals, okay, again, if you look at the totals from the 2016 election for Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, and then you look at the totals for Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then you look at the numbers for Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, Kamala
Mm-hmm.
Harris outperformed um, Hillary Clinton almost universally. Okay,
But you didn't, Joe Biden.
of course not, but that proves because there was record turnout over 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and the vote totals are still significantly off based on Trump versus Biden. Now, again, it's just a matter of again, Joe Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton in every municipality that did not have massive mail-in voter fraud.
Mm-hmm. You
Anyway,
know, something interesting got put up on a graphic earlier yesterday, I believe, and it was showing the states and how they fell out in the presidential election.
uh-huh.
And I found it quite interesting that all the ones that actually Harris won in were all states that do not require voter ID.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I guarantee you that there were a lot of illegal aliens who voted for her.
And you know, it's really interesting to see the finger pointing that's going on. You got Bernie Sanders blaming them, saying that they totally blew it with the working class. You got Nancy Pelosi totally lambasting him, saying it's some kind of conspiracy. He's just gobsmacked. They didn't see it coming. But I don't see how they couldn't see it coming to when they continued pushing and pushing, because this shift was a shift that you and I have picked up on and seen in plain sight because of the continual leftist thing to where they jump on the minute detail of the 1%, not the wealthy 1%, but the batshit crazy 1%, and try to ram it down everybody's throat. This
Well,
is a complete repudiation of any plank in a Democrat platform since 2000.
well, but here's the thing, all right? The people that are their aristocracy, the American aristocracy, okay, the Pelosi's, the Romneys, the McConnells, the Schumers, the Bushes, on and on and on and on and on. You can name all of them because they're all household names because they've been in politics for more than 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They are so completely out of touch. They could give a shit if a carton of eggs costs $6.
Right.
They don't care. It's not, it's absolutely just it's a non-event for them. These
Mm-hmm.
people, it would cost them more money than it's worth to bend over and pick up $100 bill if they saw it laying on the sidewalk. Okay, it would cost them more money in the amount of time it takes them to reach down and pick that up than it. I mean, they're making $300 in the amount of time it would take them to stoop down and pick up $100. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, again, they're screaming at us, oh, the economy's doing great. The economy's doing great. The economy is probably doing great. It probably is. But the citizens of America are not because the economy, again, wages have not, for the private sector, have not substantially inflated since 1975 when Jimmy Carter was president. Okay. In
Mm-hmm.
1975, when Jimmy Carter was president, a brand new, just built house on a quarter acre of land cost $14,000, and a factory, a brand new car off of the showroom floor cost $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the wages have not increased to match a house costing, an entry level house costing $120,000. Okay, and
Or
when I'm
more.
talking about, yeah, or more, and a vehicle costing you more than $60,000. We haven't had that increase. Now, the government employees get a regular pay increase, cost of living increase. It's not the
Hmm.
same as what the actual cost of living increases to, but they have been getting increases yearly since 1975. So government wages have increased at a rate that
Hmm.
drastically outpaces the private
The rest
sector.
of the pub. Well, and now I think though is we're going to see truly if Mr. Trump does what he says he's going to do, and I mean Bobby Kennedy, I guess he's going to be part of the administration as well as
Right?
Elon Musk.
Hmm.
And Bobby Kennedy said there's going to be entire departments at like the FDA and
Oh, yeah.
places like that are going to be gone.
And they
And
need to be.
and I think Trump said the Department of Education was essentially going to be gone
Well,
because it's
again,
going to be returned back to the states to where it should be in the
that
first place.
like in what was it, El Salvador. That's exactly what they did. They walked in. The first thing they did was they laid waste to significant amounts of government excess,
Yeah, well,
and
and
that's
it's
the
true. I mean,
yeah.
why should just because you work for the government, you be guaranteed that you can't be held to minimum standards of productivity
Oh,
and
absolutely, you should.
quality in your job to where everybody else, if
Hmm.
they sneeze wrong, they can be fired.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, that is, this has been true since I was a kid. Now, when I was a kid, if you had any capabilities or abilities whatsoever, you went into the private sector. Okay.
Hmm.
And that was the goal, because if you could compete, if you were capable of doing your job, if you weren't just some dilettante that had no skill set whatsoever, okay, then you didn't go to work for the government. And I know a lot of people that had health conditions and stuff like that that prevent, that they needed those overarching health care benefits that you got from the government. But that was why you went to the government. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, again, one of the places where you don't see that meteoric rise in salaries is the education field, because teachers are still I mean, again, back in, golly, Pete, this was back before, in the 2008 range. They were
Hmm.
looking at teachers' salaries versus the benefits that you receive if you're not gaming the system. If you just took the benefits that the government gives to you if you are on welfare,
Hmm.
the comparative salary that you're making was $52,000 a year comparatively.
Hmm.
At that time, the average nationwide salary for a teacher, K through 12, was $34,000 a year. $34,000 a year to be a professional, to have a degree, to have the certificates, everything necessary to teach,
Well, and
versus
if it's
being,
nationwide, is like it is in North Carolina.
mm,
One thing you also have to keep in mind is in North Carolina, the teachers only get paid for 9 months because they're off 3 months in the summer.
right. But they have to, what they do is they have to adjust their salary so that they've got the money to survive during those
Well, no,
three
there are
months.
some here that just get paid while school is in session.
No, yeah, that's the way that's all of them. But what they have to do is they have to save and stuff like that. They have to make sure, because they're not getting paid unless they teach summer school or they have some other side
Well,
gig.
no, there is an option here to where they can have it split into where they get
Right.
paid in the summer or take it just during the school year.
No, yeah, I understand. But again, they're still, it's not like they're making, again, they're making $34,000 a year. If you're not a trust fund baby, you can't own your own home at 34,000 a year.
Well,
You can't do it.
according to the latest statistics, in order to comfortably afford a home and a car in today's economy, you have to be making 120 grand a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So by that standards, 3/4 of the population can't
Well, and therein
do
lies
it.
the problem. Therein lies the problem. Okay. And it is not a problem that this is the whole thing. It's like everything else that an overarching government entity gets involved with. It all goes to crap. Okay, because they all start scheming. It's human nature. That's why the founding fathers designed excuse me, designed the Constitution of our republic the way that they did, is that it is human nature for everybody to get together with their buddies and set the rules the way that they want them to be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've said it a million times. It's a gigantic game of King of the Hill. Okay. You may not be the strongest. You may not be the fastest. You may not be the smartest. But if you get a bunch of the people that are the fastest and smartest as your, if you're the general and you get a bunch of your foot soldiers that are fast enough and smart enough to keep the other kids from getting up to you, then you can be the king of the hill for a long time. And that's what
Right.
they do. Okay. And that's the whole thing. My hope, my fondest hope is two things. One is that the Trump administration does exactly what they say they're going to do and wipes out massive amounts of this red tape and bureaucracy that has just gone completely out of
Mm-hmm.
control for more than the past 40, well, since the end of the Second World War, in my opinion. I think
Well,
we had
and
about a 10-year span after the Second World War that we were okay, but around the time of the Kennedy assassination, at the absolute earliest, if
mm-hmm.
not before, is when everything just started going completely off the rails and government
Well, and I
became
mean,
completely
if his
uncontrollable.
first term is any indication, is he will do what he said he's going to do. Because in his first term,
Right.
he did that. The only thing that happened there was he was sidelined with COVID. And I
Well,
think this time what you're going to see, and I think you're already seeing, is that it's a great undertaking when you transition from the world of business into the world of government.
oh yeah, no
And
doubt.
I think he is taking greater care to pick the correct people, to have the right people in the right spots this time, so you don't get the bureaucrat pushback of lifelong
Oh yeah,
bureaucrats stuck in the government. Because
right.
I have a feeling that between Musk and his efficiency drive and stuff, because there are entire people in the government that don't do anything and still get full-time checks.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely, absolutely. That is, I would say that is the rule, not the exception.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I've got a mail carrier currently that we're lucky if he shows up to deliver the mail before 4 p.m. Okay, used to be that the mail was delivered at noon, but this guy shows up, you know, when he feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's okay. I can adjust to it, but again, it's a matter of, I've never gone into any government area and seen, you know, 80% of the people working hard. I've seen 20% of the people actually working and 80% of the people wandering around doing nothing most of the day.
But
Uh,
another thing that was interesting after Donald Trump was called, or they called the election, it wasn't short thereafter that you had Hamas signaling that they're ready for peace.
oh,
You
absolutely.
had
Hmm.
Russia and Ukraine signaling that they're ready for peace.
Yep.
The stock market soars
Yep.
because they know that if Trump's exact words is he's going to bomb the shit out of them. And if
Oh
you
yeah.
think he's joking, you're crazy, because he's not joking.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely, because that's what he did again. I mean, well, again, now, so, and like you said, he still, in spite of the bureaucratic pushback
Hmm.
to sham impeachments, Russia, 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 FBI, CIA, everybody against him, he still
Hmm.
managed to be the only president in that I'm aware of that has actually met the vast majority of their campaign promises
And the only
since
reason he
Ronald
didn't
Reagan.
meet all of them was because COVID hit
Right.
toward the end of his presidency.
Well, and he was misadvised by Fauci and all the rest of those
Well,
people.
and the other people that he brought in, like
Right.
Pompeo and Haley and all these
Yep.
other people that
Right.
are just the same as the bureaucrats because they've been in the system forever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I will say this: I used to think that Hillary Clinton's voice was the most annoying thing I've ever heard.
All right.
It is no longer the most annoying. There is a new champion in town.
What's that?
Well, I was watching the news channel for the first time, and God only knows when, since God was a boy.
Hmm.
I mean, see, people like me and you, we don't watch the news, we make the news. And
Okay.
but Tim Waltz had gone back to Minnesota. This is after Kamala had given her concession speech at the Naval Observatory.
Did she actually give a I missed that completely.
Well, she did say she concedes the election, but isn't giving up the fight that
Oh,
caused something. She did give a speech like the next day.
all
But
right.
Tim Waltz had gone back and they were having this rally stuff. His wife, thank good God Almighty, she's in Minnesota and married to him. Because if she was here, I would duct tape her mouth shut. She opened her mouth and started a squall. Dude, I ain't heard nothing that bad since a cat got its tail hung in the sliding glass door.
Mm,
It was absolutely horrible. Absolutely crazy.
all right. Well, I feel very fortunate that I managed to miss that.
And the next thing that really has baffled me about this is you and we've been around the sun many times now, right?
That's what they tell me.
We have seen a lot of elections.
Hmm.
I cannot fathom, particularly when you're scrolling through social media, you see these people. Now, the women that voted for Kamala are so disenfranchised that they're going to shave their heads and they're all going to start wearing blue beaded bracelets to let them know what people are safe for them to talk to.
Okay.
And that's fine. I get that. But I was sitting there thinking, it's like, how many elections have I participated in as a citizen doing my duty
Hmm.
where the election didn't go the way I wanted it? But yet the next morning I got up and took my happy ass to work and continued on. I didn't have to have the college people when I was in school handing me out Legos and milk and cookies
Oh yeah.
because I was having a meltdown. I just don't and I get it. Like there was one particular lady that I do follow her actually on TikTok, and I didn't wasn't never really political. It's just she is a rescues dogs, and I have a soft spot for
Hmm.
animals and particularly dogs. But she was talking about her experience with some Trump supporters in a post office, and she and what I think is, or what seems to be happening, is they don't want the right, excuse me, the right to paint them with a broad brush,
Right.
saying they're all lunatics.
Hmm.
But yet she had a bad experience with some people that were over boisterous for over Trump's win.
Hmm.
And so now she's painting everybody that if you voted for Donald Trump, she just don't have time and don't want anything to do with you, as a lot of these other ones are.
Hmm.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, well, I have had problems with the way elections have turned out a lot of times.
Yeah.
I didn't shave my head. I didn't have to worry about it. It just kept falling out.
Well, I did shave my head once, but that's because my hair kept falling out.
Well, mine's falling out too. But I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm sitting here thinking, how pathetic is it
Hmm.
that these people think that Donald Trump, first of all, took away their right to have an abortion? Donald Trump did no such thing.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Even the liberal justices, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg, said Roe v. Wade was not the way it should be done,
Hmm.
and it was legislative process done by a judiciary bench.
Absolutely.
And the only thing
And
it
it was
did was
flawed, and it
right.
was flawed. But go ahead. Mhm.
And essentially overturning Roe, all it did, it didn't take any rights you had away. It put it back to the state to
Yep.
decide, because that's where the decision should have been in the first place, because that's the arena to where decisions like that are so granular that they need to be made there and not at the federal level.
Absolutely.
But they don't understand that, and you can't get them to understand that.
Well,
And
but
so you're
it's
telling me that people are going to vote on their right
to
to have
murder a baby.
babies killed
Hmm.
instead of bread costing $10 a loaf?
Well, and there are people that did vote that
Well,
way.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah. Now,
These are
and
the
again,
idiots that are shaving their heads and wearing blue bracelets.
right now, and again, if you sit and percolate on this for a second, you and I share the same alma mater. Okay. I
God
can't
bless
see,
Florida.
that's it. I can't see safe spaces, Lego blocks, and all of that crap going on at the U of F. I just can't
Not when
see
we
it.
were there anyway.
Yeah. Where I can see that is places like Brown or
Harvard,
Harvard or Yale.
Howard.
Yeah. All of these Ivy League places where where the children that were raised with platinum spoons in their mouth
Hmm.
get to go, because those again that's the aristocracy. And you think about that, who's the aristocracy in the United States? Federal government employees for absolute certain, the senatorial class for absolute certain, bankers, lawyers, big pharma, the big people that control money, and they want to regulate every instant of. I mean, we're the citizenry in the United States has become serfs. Okay,
Hmm.
in the feudal system, and if you don't know what the feudal system is, do some research and learn
Right,
about it.
because we don't have time to explain to you and fix your gap in your education.
Yeah, and so the point is, these people want the United States federal government, when this is why we're not supposed to have a powerful federal government, for this very reason. They want to make the federal government an overarching authority that can control everything that you
Hmm.
do.
And the
Okay.
founding fathers designed it intentionally
To
so
be
it
the
would be
opposite.
extremely difficult for it to get anything done.
Yep. Absolutely. For that reason. And
Now,
again, that's
I
so
did hear that Trump want him and his team were going to push during this presidency for a constitutional amendment for term limits for Congress.
that would be, again, that is the best, in my opinion. Any elected position, and all of the unelected positions report to the elected positions in the government, whether they like it or not. And every elected position should have a maximum two-term limit, in my opinion. Period. You should not have these people that are capable of spending their entire life, and their ridiculous pension needs to go away as well.
Right. Well,
Give
I
them a
mean, it
damn
should be public service.
401k.
You shouldn't be getting paid.
Yeah.
It's
You
public service.
Well, I'm okay with them getting paid.
No, I'm
Okay.
not. I
But
think they should stay in the dorm. They should eat in the cafeteria. We'll pay for the dorm and the cafeteria. We're paying for security anyway. That'll cut down on a lot of the security costs because they only have to secure one or two buildings,
I
and
agree
it's done.
completely. I agree completely. But one thing at a time. First, let's get those rascals out of there so that they're not spending 40 years making everybody else's life murder. It's
Hmm.
just that's
And
the
that's
first thing.
kind of interesting, though. You have, I thought the Republicans and the MAGA Republicans were the ones that they said always wanted violence and stuff like that.
Well, of course they do. That's what they
But now,
say.
Well,
but
that's what
that's
they
not
say,
true.
but it's amazing. All the videos are from here that I have seen lately, calling for actually asking for John Hinckley to go shoot Trump.
Yeah. Oh, I know. They're the ones that scream. They're the ones that scream and have violent rhetoric and all that crap, and they're screaming about everybody else. Oh, he's uses violent rhetoric. I mean, again, was Maxine Waters screaming, if you see them in a restaurant, don't let them eat.
Right.
If you see them in a grocery store, don't give them any peace.
And now they're doing the same thing to Sotomayor that they were doing to Joe Biden, trying to get her to resign
Oh, yeah.
so they can put Kamala Harris on the Supreme Court.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, that's what they think. Or they want Joe Biden to resign early and let Kamala Harris be president for the next 70 days.
Well, I don't give a shit what they do on that count, but I do care about the Supreme Court, but whatever they do, with what they do with the remainder of this failed administration, I could not possibly find it within myself
Well,
to
you
care
know the
less.
picture of Jill Biden
Hmm.
coming out of the polling place wearing a red pantsuit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I still think, Joe, he may be a Democrat, but I don't think he's happy with the way he was treated. They may have voted Republican.
It's entirely possible. And again, I could not possibly find it within myself to care any less. Joe Biden is not a Democrat. Joe Biden is not a Republican. Joe Biden is a crime family boss. And he is all about Joe Biden and always has been. I mean, and that's my personal opinion. He's been with the Democrats because they're the ones that would put up with his slimy
Uh-huh.
ass. But anyway, yada
Well,
yada.
as it sits right now, we are closing in on essentially the end of the 2024 election.
Yep.
I think there's a few races left to be called. Senate seat or the Senate is called, although Mr. Schumer would not invite Senator-elect from Pennsylvania McCormick to orientation this weekend
Hmm.
because he says there are votes that still need to be counted, and the votes that are left outstanding are in a county that he is winning 86 odd percent of the vote. So, and then you have a few House races that are left to call. From my estimation, looking at the races that are left, the Republicans will retain control of the House as well. It's not in stone yet, but I have a feeling by early, since Monday's a holiday, Veterans Day, um, that it probably will be locked in by Tuesday or Wednesday, that the House maintains control and has the trifecta as far as the government goes. And this therein is the next situation that we need to talk about. This is, without a doubt, one of the strongest mandates that
Oh,
the American
absolutely.
people have sent a person to office with in a
Hmm.
long, long time.
Oh, absolutely. I
And
would
so,
say the strongest mandate since Reagan
and
defeated
Mondale,
Carter.
well, Reagan and Mondale was pretty strong too,
Oh, yeah. Well,
because
there's no
Mondale
doubt.
only carried Minnesota.
Yeah.
But
Well, again, that was the message that the elitists need to gather is that we're okay with them enriching themselves as long as it is not at our expense, at the expense of us being able to live our lives.
mhm,
Okay. And that's the thing. Okay. They've made all of these rules and regulations so that you have no choice or opportunity except what they allow you to have, which ain't much. Okay. Or
mhm,
if you manage to come up with something that is completely unexpected, like a pet rock or something. Okay.
right.
You have that, but you got a better shot at winning the damn lottery than becoming a CEO of a major corporation. And if you
Mhm,
think you've got a shot at winning the lottery, you're delusional. Okay. You need to read the book called How to Cheat at Everything because it'll teach you enough about mathematics that you will understand The house is the one that always wins. Well,
The
who is
house
the
always, the
house?
odds are always on the house, regardless.
Absolutely.
You don't ever buck the tiger.
Yeah. And so that's the whole thing. That's why gambling is such a foolish thing, because everybody loses except the house. But again, one of my favorite moments in my life was when the South Carolina lottery had first come into play. Okay, I was totally against it. I'm totally against gambling in anything other than just playing cards with some friends or something like that. Totally against it. Blackjack, roulette, all of that stuff. Casinos. It astounds me that people are that willing to throw away the money that they've earned in such nonsense as that. But whatever. And they were interviewing this woman, and who was one of the first people to buy a lottery ticket, and she had won $5. Won $5. She got a $5 ticket and a scratch off. She was so happy. And the reporter asked the question, "How many tickets did you buy?" And you could see the look on his face the minute he asked it was like, "Damn it." Well, she was up $5. She had bought 25 tickets to get that $5 ticket. So she was in the hole 20.
Right.
And that's gambling.
Also, we also have a new news story that's been breaking here recently
All right.
about a manager at FEMA instructing people
Oh, yeah.
that if they had Trump advertising in their yards to skip them and write it down that there was nobody there.
Right.
And maybe this clean sweep that's getting ready to take place on January the 20th,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's well deserved.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree that it's well deserved. I think that we need a general house cleaning from the top all the way down to the bottom. And so the two things, again, that I started off with that I really hope happen is, first, I hope that he is able to I hope that the Republican Party shows that it has indeed recognized that the citizenry is paramount in the United States. And I hope we get back to a constitutional republic that we're supposed to be. That's the first thing
Right.
that I hope.
I agree with that.
The second thing that I hope is that all of the people that voted, that have been, all the blue dog Democrats and whatnot that have been voting for the bullshit that they've been voting for all of these years and voted against Trump, the anti-Trumpers, all of that stuff, pay attention to the fact that their standard of living is going to start rising steadily after the 1st of January of 2025. I hope they recognize this and learn that you don't vote based on your feelings. You don't vote based on who you like, that this is a job interview, and that you vote for the person who is going to do the job that addresses your primary concerns, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we're talking about safety. We're talking about security. We're talking about prosperity. Okay. If somebody has a business and is making a butt ton of money, I am perfectly happy with them making a butt ton of money. Okay. Long as they're not doing it by crushing me. Okay. If, like the communications companies, the pharmaceutical companies, we pay 10 times more for our internet service, etc., than any other developed country. It may not be 10. I think it's at least 3 times. It's at least a factor of 3. And we get worse service. Okay. Same thing in the pharmaceutical industry. We pay an exorbitant amount more for medication that is, it's controlled, and they push us in the direction of what will allow them to continue charging us for the same medication for the rest of our lives. That's absurd, and I can go on and on and on. All of that
Hmm.
needs to stop. All of that needs to stop, and we need to bring our manufacturing base back into the United States, because there will be wars and rumors of wars until the end of time, and we have to be able to depend on our nation to be able to make everything that we need inside of the walls, inside of the boundaries of our nation, in case we
Well,
wind up being the only people against
well,
the rest of the
and
world.
that was one of the reasons why we prevailed in World War II.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's because we were able to make everything and we didn't
Yeah.
have to rely on somebody else. And I think we realized some of that with some of the supply chain issues because of COVID
Oh, yeah.
that happened and things like that. And I think some things have gone because people, Trump. That brings up another point about Trump and tariffs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But because the tariffs doesn't really hurt whoever is initially selling the product, right?
Right. Hmm.
What it does is it forces them to move manufacturing into our country
Absolutely. Which
so they
raises the standard of living for American citizens. Go ahead.
right. Well, I was just going to say is a lot of people misunderstand exactly how tariffs work
Right.
and don't understand it. One thing I haven't understood is how you raise over $1 billion in less than 100 and some odd days and end up 20 million in debt.
Oh, you're talking about the whistleblower?
Yeah.
Kamala Ding Dong.
I mean, seriously, how do you raise $1 billion
Hmm.
in 100 and some days? And that's what gets me is you had Whoopi Goldberg saying, look at what she did in just a few months, 100 and some days, and she did this. If she had actually had this or this or this, she could have won. She wasn't ever going to win.
No.
They are so blinded. Kamala Harris has been a politician in politics all her life.
Hmm.
She was a prosecutor. She was in the Senate, and then now she's been vice president. So if she doesn't know how to run an election by now, God help her. Her campaign spent $100,000
Hmm.
rebuilding the set of a video podcast, because Kamala didn't want to fly out to wherever they were doing the podcast at.
I am
A
not at
hundred
all
thousand
surprised.
dollars.
Hmm. Yep.
But do you know what ended up happening that was leaked today
Uh-uh.
or yesterday?
Uh-uh.
Donald Trump offered to pay the $20 million to get her out of debt.
Interesting.
Because, see, unlike most debts, political debts incurred like that, the
Hmm.
the candidate is actually on the hook for that money.
I believe it.
No, seriously, that's how it worked.
I understand.
So one thing, and then you got Trump with all these legal cases that are still piled against him. I think the sentencing and stuff's supposed to be
Yeah.
coming up at the end of this month.
Yeah.
I've seen, Bill Barr has seen, Bill Barr was the Attorney General under George W. Bush.
Hmm.
And, a lot of people, and I want to read you a quote. I don't think this was Bill Barr. I think this was somebody else. And
Hmm.
I forgot to write down who said it, but this is not me saying it. I'm just reading it.
All right.
Regardless of Trump's fault in any of the court actions still pending against him, I am unable to see how the 2024 election wasn't a definite verdict on the subject delivered by the highest authority,
Hmm.
the people.
I agree. Yep. And it's the truth. And the thing is, again, the people that don't understand the things he was convicted of, he was convicted of getting a loan for based on his property and then repaying the loan.
Right.
Okay.
And even the bank testified for
Exactly.
him.
Exactly. And that was the one that they managed to shove through. And
Was the well, no, the other one that met the 34 felonies
Right.
was the hush
Was the
money
hush
thing.
money. Right. And again, let's see. All right. So if that's a crime, that's fine. Let's get all of the people in Congress currently and that have been in
Well,
Congress
here's I think
previously.
what well
Hold
here
on.
they're
Let
going to
me
have a
finish.
problem.
Hold on. That have used the slush fund that is in the federal budget to handle cases where they are accused of rape or whatnot, that they've all dipped into. I want all of them to be held to the same standard that
Well,
Donald
and I
Trump
agree.
was.
But the problem with this particular case that Alvin Bragg brought is a lot of the cases, the charges that were filed were actually misdemeanors that they
Yes, they
elevated to
were.
felony out of
Right.
the air.
Well, they
But
elevated them. Yeah. Go ahead.
the main cause that they brought the case for in the state court was actually a federal crime.
Yes. What they
So,
said. Well, go ahead. Finish.
but if what's going to end up happening is any court, and I have read from Alan Dershowitz to some other people, and they truly believe that in this instance, since the underlying case is a federal law that the state brought,
Hmm.
the supremacy clause is going to trump it.
Oh, absolutely. They don't have standing.
Right.
Okay. So again, they elevated these misdemeanors to a felony by saying that they were in-kind campaign contributions.
Hmm.
Well, by what standard did they use that? Because again, is it not an in-kind campaign contribution for a seated senator or a seated representative to dip into the congressional slush fund to get rid of somebody that is claiming that they've raped them or sexually abused them or mistreated them? Is that not the same thing? So all of these people are culpable.
Right.
They have just legislated from the bench a law that applies to everybody that's seated in Congress right now that's had to deal with that.
Hmm.
And I would love to see a list of who they are.
Well, it would be interesting, and I think you're going to see, the Diddy tapes, the Diddy lists. I think we're going to see the Epstein lists.
I hope so.
I hope we very well. I mean, we should.
No, we absolutely should.
Um, I think personally, press secretary, I vote Donald picks Roseanne Barr.
That would
Love
be
Roseanne,
entertaining. That
and
would
I
be
didn't
entertaining.
realize this, but Roseanne actually has a podcast. And
Yeah.
I actually got to catch an episode or two of it the other day, and she is just as funny as she always has been.
Well, that's good to know. I haven't
I
caught it.
saw a video of one of Trump's lawyers,
Hmm.
and they were talking in particularly about the governor of New York, and then Letitia James' um, press conference about how they're going to stand up to the new Trump presidency and all that, and essentially his attorney told him, you go ahead and try and do what you got to do.
Hmm.
He said, because we're not playing this time.
Hmm.
He said, I will make sure your sweetheart, your fat ass goes to the slammer.
Yep. And it should. It absolutely should. Again, one of the things, the whole thing is the oldest quote unquote professions are lawyers, other than prostitutes, of course, the oldest profession in the world, lawyers and accountants. Okay.
Hmm.
And most of the law is intentionally written to be so complicated that they can make it do whatever the hell they want it to
Well,
do.
that's true because the average person isn't going to be able to interpret it.
And the same with the accounting practices and the tax code. And all of that stuff needs to be slashed down to the point where we don't require an attorney to keep from breaking the law. Okay. I mean, again, there's a book out there, 3 felonies a day. On average, according to the premise of the book, on average, everybody during the normal course of their life commits 3 felony acts per day and never realizes it. Okay. And that's the kind of crap that we were never supposed to have to endure as citizens of the United States, based on the intent of our founding fathers. But at any rate, so yeah, I'm very hopeful. I am praying daily that Donald Trump manages to live long enough to get to the inauguration and beyond it, and that his administration does exactly what he has said he's going to do.
Well, and I agree. And I think, even when Joe Biden, it, I was not happy about Joe Biden being elected.
Well, he wasn't
But,
actually elected, but go ahead.
well, but I mean, the sentiment is this. Did I vote for Joe Biden? No, I did not.
Mhm.
Um, but in most cases, until I see definitive proof, I will have to say that I think he won the election
Oh
because
no,
he became
he
president.
won the election. There's no
Right.
doubt, but he was
But
not
what I'm
elected.
saying is,
There's a
my point,
difference.
yeah, but my point is this: no matter win or lose, whoever wins,
Mhm.
if we are all in this together, you still want them to do what's best for the country,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that the country becomes prosperous and remains safe.
That's because you're a conservative or at least a moderate and not going to shave your head and wear blue beads. Okay.
Well, I just want to make something very clear. If you see me in public, I did not shave my head; it just fell out.
I understand. And if I see you wearing blue beads, then I'm going to be worried.
If I wear blue beads, baby, they're gonna be made out of sapphires. They ain't gonna be no cheap plastic shit from Hobby Lobby.
All
I'll tell
right.
you that right now.
I believe you.
Yeah,
But, again, that's the whole thing. After they declared um, Joe Biden to have actually won that election without doing any forensic audits of all of the states that, since the forensic audits have been done, have all shown that um, they had massive amounts of mail-in voter fraud. Um, they I still hoped that Biden and the Democrats would actually do something of value for the American people. I knew in my heart they weren't going to. But again, in this case, I'm still looking at Trump and going, well, he has a track record, and his track record is that he did what he said he was going to do. Okay,
right.
to the best of his ability. I sincerely hope that they continue with that track record,
Hmm.
but we won't know until after he takes office.
That's right.
We won't know until his
We
first
may be
100
sitting
days.
here in a couple of months cussing him out.
That's entirely possible, But I just want to get back to the point where I
But
feel
I'm
like,
gonna make it. I will tell you this right now.
all
I
right,
didn't even vote for Trump this time.
okay, that's fine.
I voted for me. I wrote myself in.
All right, well, congratulations on the votes that you got.
Well, yeah, I got one vote. I feel good about it.
I understand. Good on you, mate.
But and that's the funny thing is, I was noticing some of these people on social media, and I have this week I have spent more time on social media than probably I ever have before in my life.
Hmm.
But they talk about going to vote.org and seeing your vote. They don't. They're going to call their election people because their vote. They don't see their vote on vote.org.
All right.
Or do they not understand that that stuff doesn't happen overnight? It just doesn't click and it's there.
No.
These people have no concept of how elections in the United States work, and that they mathematically formulas to formulate and call the states and the races based on the votes that are left to be counted and where they're coming from.
Hmm.
They don't get that. Like
No.
one girl goes, "Well, there's still 4 million votes out in California."
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Doesn't matter.
California is inconsequential
Hmm.
because it was foregone that it was going to go there for Kamala anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
will say this though, looking at the vote totals that Trump got in California, Gavin Newsom and them might want to start thinking long and hard about what they're doing and how they're doing it because California is not as blue as it was. And that's another thing. We keep saying blue states, red states, purple states, but that's not true.
Mhm.
If you look at the map, it's just blue cities in red states.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That has always been the case. It is the municipalities that turn a state blue, not,
Hmm.
the people that live in, in rural America all have the same problems. It doesn't matter if they're in Pennsylvania, it doesn't matter if they're in New York, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. They all have the same problems, and those problems are caused by the city dwellers.
Right. Or
Okay?
as the Amish call them, the English.
The English, that's exactly right.
Well, and you know, the Amish
Hmm.
uh, voted in record number for the first time
Yep.
this year
Well, and
or this election.
it's about time, because again,
Well,
they're based on religion, and
well,
the Democrat, the entire the entirety of the Democrats are based on getting rid of a religion completely.
well, that's true, but
Well,
something
specifically
specifically has
Christianity and Judaism.
happened. Well, something has happened or has been happening specifically that really fired them up. And it was presented to them. Well, if you want to get back at them,
Hmm.
register to vote. This is how you do it. The government, Amish they are a religious sect,
Yep.
and they primarily live by farming and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Yep.
And they have farm stores and restaurants, and they make
Hmm.
jams, great food.
Hmm.
Um, but the government has been cracking down on their farms and not allowing them to sell their farm products.
Oh no, I did not
And
know that.
so they have been particularly agitated and angry. And so, and I think the last count, it was almost 200,000 votes. And so you can actually say that the Amish delivered Pennsylvania to
Hmm.
Donald Trump.
And that's a good thing. Again, the problems that, it, you don't see somebody out on a farm worrying about, or claiming that a male can wake up one morning and decide that it's female. They
Hmm.
know that you got two genders, and you can't impregnate a cow to make a calf without a bull.
Right.
You
Well,
can't do it.
and you and I have talked about, and I mean, that's a topic, we've kind of beat the dead horse, so to
Oh
speak.
yeah, yep, yep.
You and I both, I think, both feel like, if that's what you want to do, that's you. You do you, but don't
Yeah,
expect me to have to buy into your crap.
no, don't expect me to
And
support your delusion.
and
Yeah.
that's what most people that I have seen
Hmm.
that live that lifestyle, they want some kind of special allowances or something instead of just going about their day and them being them and them letting me be me.
Hmm.
They want me to clap for them and tell them how great they are, and then they want special privileges
Hmm.
because they think that they are so entitled
Yep.
to things that they're not entitled to.
Well, but again, that's the whole thing when I talk about them being, American aristocracy. Okay, that's the way the aristocrat class has been and continues to be in the entire world. They think that they are smarter, better, humans than everybody that lifts them up so that they can live the lifestyles that they want to live. And again, here's the thing. If you've got money, there's a trust fund out there, and you can have that trust fund and you can live your life as a trust fund baby. But if
Hmm.
you're not in that group of people, getting there is nearly impossible, because you don't get to transfer generational wealth to your children or your
Not anymore.
grandchildren because of the federal government.
Right.
That's the problem. It's like, I'm okay with, again, if your family made money back in the 1700s and you still got it, God bless you, but don't put your foot on my family's throat so that I don't have the opportunity to do the same. Okay. And that's therein lies the problem. Okay. Is
Hmm.
that we've taken away, and honestly, I feel like the death knell started with Richard Nixon when he opened up China. I really
Oh,
do.
I agree. Well, yeah.
And when he changed the dollar, the U.S. dollar, to a fiat-based currency.
Well, and that what started the economic woes.
Yeah.
The woes that were a lot of the woes on top of the economic woes that we see now. Truthfully, and you and I have discussed this before, I think the seeds of all of this were sown by Barack Obama
Okay.
because,
Yeah.
well,
I
for the
agree.
simple fact that, we have discussed and ad nauseum that, coming up through George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton,
Mhm.
we did not seem as divided or
No, we were not
uh,
as divided
as
as
each
a
other's
nation.
throat as we were until Barack Obama became president.
Right. And it was 2 years into the Obama administration when, and it was because of the bank bailouts. Okay. There was a massive amount of fraud and money laundering that went on there
Hmm.
too, just like what's going on in Ukraine and the other places. And so there was a shit ton of money that went missing.
Hmm.
And rather than have to deal with the news story of what happened to all of these taxpayer dollars that were paid to the banks, basically for screwing the citizenry in the first place to make more money for themselves.
Did you enjoy it?
Not at all. Didn't even
I
get a,
didn't either.
didn't
They
even,
must not have used no lube.
yeah, and they didn't give me a kiss on the back of the neck and tell me they loved me either. But the end
Well,
result
them
is,
them rascals,
yeah, but
rapscallions.
the end result was, rather than dealing with that was one of the biggest scandals that happened during the Obama presidency. But rather than dealing with that, they resurrected the race card narrative that the United States, which had just elected the first black president,
Hmm.
was filled with racists. And that card plays with people that want to be victims. I mean, I don't
Well,
understand it.
that's because we have systematically taught people to be victims, that they are victims, to
Oh yeah.
expect to be a victim.
Oh yeah. Well,
And
and especially educated
that's just
liberal
crazy.
females.
Right. And that's the problem is the education system coming from from the federal government
Yeah.
is what enables that to begin with.
Right. Well, it's indoctrination.
Right.
And
And
again,
now that we have,
indoctrination is not a bad thing. Indoctrination is teaching the rules and regulations of society or whatever environment that you're in. Indoctrination is not a bad thing as long as you're not being indoctrinated with bad things.
right.
So sorry for the
It's
soapbox.
the old adage, garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, you're fine. I just wanted that we're running low on time because we've actually gone over what we normally allot for the podcast because, some people just can't bask in our greatness for that long amount of time.
I thought it was going to be because we just can't keep our mouths shut.
Well, that may be it too. But I found this quote the other day. I was reading Mark Twain's autobiography,
Mhm.
and I think we'll close the show on this quote.
All right.
And this is Mark Twain speaking.
Mhm.
Well, not really. Mark Twain wrote it. I'm reading it for y'all people that you don't get what I mean because I know Southern language is a language of nuance, and a lot of y'all don't understand it.
All right.
Was that being condescending?
A little bit, but we'll
Oh,
let
I'm
that
sorry.
go.
I
We'll,
still love y'all. Bless y'all's little hearts. Come down. I'll share a bacon biscuit with you.
all right.
All right, but here we go. Sometimes I wonder whether the world is being run by smart people who are putting us on or by imbeciles who really mean it.
An excellent point.
Excellent point. And with that, boys and girls, and our yo-ho-dem. That's the snout to the curly tail and everything in between. And we gone.
Have a good evening.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuck. Wait, can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND. Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND. Get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.